Don't look back. In the winter of 2017, snow blanketed the roads in a small town in the northern United States. That night, 27-year-old Emily was driving home after finishing her night shift at the hospital. It was almost midnight when she noticed something strange in her rearview mirror. A black car. At first, she didn't pay much attention. But after 10 minutes, the car was still behind her. When she turned right, the car turned right behind her. When she turned left, the car did the same. Emily felt scared. She grabbed her phone and called her boyfriend. "There's been a car following me for ages," she told him. He tried to calm her down and told her to go to the nearest police station. She agreed. But before she even got to the station, the car had vanished. She breathed a sigh of relief and thought it was all over. But she was wrong. When she arrived home and got out of the car, she noticed something that made her blood run cold: fresh footprints in the snow. They started behind her house and headed toward her bedroom window. They weren't hers, nor anyone she knew. She rushed inside and locked the door. She checked every room. No one was there. She tried to convince herself it was a joke. But at 3 a.m., she woke to a faint sound coming from downstairs. Footsteps, slow and deliberate. She grabbed her phone and called the police. She told the operator she could hear someone inside the house. While she was talking, she heard a door open downstairs. Then the footsteps started coming up the stairs. One step, then another, then another. The operator told her to stay calm and that the police were on their way. But the footsteps didn't stop. They reached the hallway leading to her room. Then everything stopped. Silence fell. Long seconds passed. Then she heard a soft knock on her bedroom door. Just 3 knocks. Knocks, knocks, knocks. She held her breath. Suddenly, a text message arrived from an unknown number. She opened it with a trembling hand. It read, "Don't look behind you." She froze. She felt someone standing inside the room, directly behind her. Tears began to stream down her face. At the same moment, she heard police sirens approaching outside. The silence was shattered. A hurried thud inside the house. Then a door slammed. When the officers forced their way into the house minutes later, they found the back door open and footprints leading away into the nearby woods. But the most terrifying thing, they found a recent photo of Emily lying above her bed. A photo taken just hours earlier as she returned from work, and it was never known who took it or who was standing in her room that night. Emily thought the nightmare was over. But just a week later, strange things started happening in her house. Every morning, she found things had been moved. Once, she found a family photo upside down on the table. Another time, she found the storage room door open, even though she was sure it was locked. At first, she convinced herself she was imagining things out of fear. But one night, while watching TV, she received a notification from the security camera by the back door. She opened the app, but she didn't see anyone. But something strange caught her attention. In the far corner of the screen, there was a face staring directly at the camera. A pale face, expressionless. It disappeared a second later. She called the police again, but when they reviewed the footage, no one appeared. The face had vanished completely, as if it had never been there. A few days later, Emily decided to move to a new apartment in another city. She thought everything would go back to normal. But on her first night in the new apartment, she woke up at 3 a.m., exactly the same time, to the sound of a text message. She grabbed the phone. It was an unknown number, and the message contained only one picture. A picture of her new apartment, taken from outside the window just minutes before. She panicked. She immediately closed the curtains. Then her hand started shaking as she noticed something else. In the picture, there was someone standing behind her inside the room, someone who wasn't there when the picture was taken. She screamed and called the police. The officers arrived minutes later. They searched the entire apartment, but they didn't find anyone. But one of the officers discovered something terrifying inside a small cabinet in the wall. There were dozens of pictures. All of them were of Emily. Pictures of her at work and shopping while she slept. Some of the photos were more than 2 years old, long before the first incident. Investigators couldn't determine how the photos got into the apartment or who took them. As for Emily, she disappeared just a month later. She vanished without a trace. When the police entered her apartment for the last time, they found her phone on the bed with a new unread message from the same unknown number. "You're not looking back anymore," it read. Finally, The police closed the case after months of searching. There was no evidence. No cameras, no witnesses, no trace of Emily. She seemed to have vanished. But 3 years later, something unexpected happened. Detective Daniel was one of the officers who worked on her disappearance. One night, while reviewing old files at the police station, he decided to open the case's evidence box one last time. The photos were still there, and the text messages, and Emily's phone. But one thing was different. There was a new photo, a photo no one had ever seen before. His heart stopped for a moment. The photo was of Emily. She was standing in a dark room, looking directly at the camera, with a strange smile on her face. The terrifying thing, the photo was taken a full year after she disappeared. He sent the photo to the lab immediately, but the report confirmed something impossible. The photo was real, and it hadn't been altered. That night, Daniel returned home, feeling anxious. When he entered his apartment, he found a white envelope on the kitchen table. It wasn't there when he left that morning. He opened the envelope. Inside was another photo, a photo of him. He was sitting inside the police station. The photo had been taken less than an hour earlier. He panicked. He searched his entire house. He didn't find anyone, but when he turned the photo over, he found a handwritten note. "You're next." He didn't sleep that night. At exactly 3 a.m., his phone rang. An unknown number. He hesitated for a moment. Then he answered. He heard no sound, only slow breathing. Then a woman's voice whispered, "He's found me." He froze. He knew that voice. It was Emily's. He called out her name, but the call cut off. The next morning, the police arrived at his house after he failed to show up for work. They found the door locked from the inside, and everything in its place. But Daniel was gone, just like Emily. They found only one thing, his phone, lying on the bed. On it was a recent photo, taken just minutes before. It showed Daniel and Emily standing together in an endless dark room, and behind them, dozens of missing people who had disappeared over the years, all staring at the camera. The last message at the bottom of the photo read, "Now they're looking behind you." And from that day on, anyone who looks at the photo for more than a few seconds receives a message from an unknown number at 3 a.m. And what happened next is unknown, because none of them were ever seen again.